Sinkholes can appear without warning, causing property damage, injury, or even death in their wake. While some regions are more prone than others, they happen all over the world. From one that swallowed an entire bus, to another that took a 3-story building, and another that caused thousands of people to leave town. But first, have you heard of that sinkhole who swallowed a man just sitting in his own bedroom? Watch the video to find out how that happened. Sinkhole Alley, Florida. Florida is known as the sinkhole capital of the US, right next to California, at least in terms of its quality. While the entire state is prone to sinkholes due to its undersoil limestone formations, the highest concentration of cases have occurred in the state's center in an area known as Sinkhole Alley. Over the past few decades, many have moved to this area due to the southern part of the state becoming very densely populated. Normally, sinkhole occurrences are merely a headache for property developers, but the prevalence and gravity of those occurring in Florida have been worrying for many of the area's residents. And in this state, the cases are the stuff of nightmares. Jeff Bush is among the 6 recorded deaths. He was in his bedroom when the earth under him opened up, swallowing him in a hole that was about 20 feet wide. The rest of the house occupants were unharmed, except for his brother Jeremy, who tried to jump into the hole in an attempt to save him. Jeremy had to be rescued when the help arrived, but after 3 days of searching, Jeff's body was never recovered. 2010 Guatemalan Sinkhole. In 2010, a sinkhole in Guatemala City, estimated to be 60 feet wide and 300 feet deep, killed at least one man and swallowed a 3-story building whole. However, experts are not calling this a true sinkhole. Sinkholes naturally form when the undersoil area, made of limestone, causes it to dissolve or collapse, opening it up from below. Guatemala's underground is made of pumice, which is a solid rock material deposited from past volcanic eruptions. However, things like running water are still able to erode this material over time. Guatemala has poor zoning regulations and building codes, and the few rules that exist are often ignored. Leaking pipes or a busted storm drain are eyed as the culprit to creating the right conditions for the sinkhole. Over the years, these would have likely softened the pumice underneath this densely populated area. The final nail in the coffin, though, was a tropical storm that swept the country and caused flooding in the city streets, causing the earth to open up in what is viewed as a man-made sinkhole disaster. Giant sinkhole in central Russia. A huge sinkhole appeared near a mining town in the Perm region of Russia in 2014. It was initially about 70 feet across but grew more than 3 times in 10 months, causing the suspension of the nearby mine and the evacuation of some 12,000 residents nearby. The catastrophe's ground zero was the site of a popular summer getaway destination. However, as the sinkhole consumed the summer houses one by one, vacation goers were quick to abandon their homes. A total of 20 cottages, already unoccupied, sunk deep into the chasm by the time the hole stopped growing. 2 adjacent pine forests were also thankfully spared. Experts believe that the cause of the disaster was recent flooding under the Solkamsk 2 mine, owned by the world's largest producer of potash. The company, however, blamed a flood that happened 20 years ago, which was caused by an earthquake. Still, this was enough cause for the mine to be shut down completely. Ottawa Street Sinkhole. A large sinkhole opened up next to a shopping mall in downtown Ottawa, just a few blocks from the Parliament buildings. It collapsed a 4-lane road along Rideau Street, exposing a ruptured water line and causing a gas leak, forcing the evacuation of all nearby businesses. Luckily, the area was under construction at the time and had been closed to all traffic except delivery vehicles and public transport. The 5-meter sinkhole swallowed a parked van and a street lamp as it widened, but it thankfully didn't claim any lives. City officials were kept busy, however, as the foul smell of natural gas began permeating the air. The adjacent shopping mall, a nearby hotel, and a convention center were quickly evacuated by firemen. The dirty brown water gushing into the cavity of the paved road also had to be controlled by city workers to protect the foundations of the nearby buildings. The speculated cause of the disaster was underground drilling by teams building the city's light rail system. However, a technical report pointed out that the culprit was the material of the ground underneath Rideau Street, which was soft, sandy soil as opposed to bedrock. The erosion of this soil caused the main water line to shift around, causing it to burst and further erode the ground underneath the intersection. Pulaski County Sinkhole. A U.S. Marine perished while hunting deer in Pulaski County, Missouri, when he fell into a sinkhole. Curtis Powelson was bow hunting near his home when the incident occurred, prompting his wife to report him missing after he failed to come back home. Curtis's last phone call to his wife was to inform her that he had shot a deer and was going further into the woods to track it. Authorities were alerted to the area, and after 5 hours of late-night searching, his body was discovered at the bottom of a sinkhole just a short distance from his home. The hole in the ground was about the size of a car and was estimated to be approximately 70 feet deep. Authorities believe that the sinkhole, partially concealed in foliage, was recently opened due to the recent heavy rains. This, in addition to the low light conditions during the time of Curtis's hunt, were determined as the cause of his unfortunate accident. Rest in peace, soldier. Texas tar pit sinkhole. A huge sinkhole appeared in Dicetta, Texas in 2008, almost swallowing an oil extraction facility. The hole measured 900 feet wide and 260 feet deep. Residents were terrified of the expanding hole that looked like a tar pit due to the crude oil from the plant mixing with water and mud, as it slowly swallowed oil equipment, trees, vehicles, and small structures. An extremely large salt dome was underneath the unlucky side of the oil farm. Like undersoil limestone and more common sinkhole events, salt domes easily erode over time. Dicetta's salt dome collapsed suddenly, causing the ground to crack and give way to the massive hole. It opened up quickly and slowly became bigger, almost prompting city officials to evacuate the town. The hole stopped growing after a few days, narrowly missing the main road, a high school, and residential houses. Apart from the property that was swallowed, thankfully none of the town's residents were actually hurt. Ontario Road sinkholes. Heavy rainfalls drenched several towns in northern Ontario in 2013, triggering major flooding and road erosion. A 57-year-old motorcyclist was unfortunately killed when his bike crashed into a sinkhole on Duff Road. Christopher Flood was driving near Thalassan, a small town in Ontario where flash flooding had washed away sections of the road. Authorities say that the wet pavement and poor visibility caused him to drive right into a missing section of the road, causing the terrible accident. He later succumbed to his injuries in the hospital. Other parts of the province were also affected by the torrential rains. Gulias Mission Road, just northeast of Thalassan, was also the site of a 30-foot sinkhole, which swallowed a passenger vehicle. Fortunately, the occupants managed to escape the vehicle unharmed. The intense storm left many roads impassable and caused millions of dollars in damages to the Ontario road network. Guangzhou sinkhole. 2013, several buildings collapsed into an enormous sinkhole in Guangzhou, China. The catastrophic incident severed gas, water, and power lines, resulting in a power outage for 3,000 nearby residents. The crater, measuring 1,000 feet wide and 30 feet deep, opened up near a construction site of a new subway station. The site's workers noticed that the land was slowly sinking and managed to warn and evacuate the 300 people inside the buildings before the structures collapsed into the hole. A total of 3 buildings were completely destroyed. Fortunately, there were no injuries or fatalities. Experts have stated that the land deformation from excessive groundwater collection and underground tunnel construction stemming from Guangzhou's rapid urbanization are to blame for this sinkhole event. Deadly underwater sinkhole. The Blue Hole in Dahab, Egypt is a submarine sinkhole, and yes, the only underwater sinkhole on this list. While the sinkhole opened up more than 150,000 years ago, this popular diving site is no less catastrophic, as it's claimed the lives of 150 to 200 divers in the past decade alone. Spanning 260 feet wide with a maximum depth of 330 feet, the Blue Hole is definitely not for amateur divers. Extreme confidence and many hours of diving experience are required before one can even attempt to conquer this underwater wonder, commonly known as the most deadly dive site. It's popular among curious visitors due to its lack of underwater current and close proximity from the shore. The brave who dare are first greeted by the first section called the Saddle, which is an easy 20-foot dive. Next up, though, is an 85-foot long tunnel known as the Arch, which passes through the reef wall into the open ocean. It's at this part of the Blue Hole that many divers have lost their lives. At this depth, untrained or underprepared divers can succumb to a condition known as nitrogen narcosis, where the essential gases for breathing begin to cause mental and physical impairment. It's often compared to alcohol intoxication, which progressively heightens as the diver goes deeper. Much like drinking, everyone is susceptible to the symptoms, but at different levels of intensities. The worst effect, though, is a complete loss of consciousness, completely disabling the diver until their oxygen runs out, or poisons them at depth. Technical divers have learned to counteract these effects with specialized equipment, but this is often expensive and requires hundreds of hours to completely master. However, this hasn't prevented even the most professional of divers from succumbing to the sinkhole's eerily beautiful depths. One Yuri Lipsky, a popular Russian-Israeli diving instructor, filmed his own demise on camera when he attempted to conquer the Blue Hole in April of 2000. The bottom is said to be utterly beautiful, with the reef formation resembling an underwater cathedral from the very bottom of the sinkhole. This, along with the potential bragging rights, keeps attracting hundreds of divers every year to attempt the Blue Hole dive. Fatalities be damned. Before we move on, I've got a little challenge for you that'll take 5 seconds to complete. So here's the deal. You just leave a like on this video, smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell, and you will get 25 years of amazing luck. Try it really works. Berezniki's deadly sinkholes. Berezniki is slowly sinking into the earth. This Russian city, located in the Ural Mountains, was built directly on top of a potash mine during Soviet times, and initially had a population of 150,000. Decades of excavation have left huge voids underneath the city, triggering multiple sinkholes to appear over the past 30 years and causing tens of thousands of people to leave. The first sinkhole appeared in 1986, but was located in an area far from the city center. 20 years later, an underground spring began flooding the excavated area hundreds of feet below the surface. The fresh water dissolved the mine's walls and pillars, which are made of salt, causing the entire city to come crashing down. City engineers attempted to fill the gaps with salt water to strengthen the supports, but this wasn't enough for many of the structures above ground to suffer damage. Just a year later, another massive cavity opened up, later determined to be the largest in the world. This humongous sinkhole, nicknamed the Grandfather, was 1,300 feet across, with a depth of over 50 stories. It not only consumed part of a warehouse, but also narrowly missed the sole rail line that leads to the potash mines. Despite being the cause of so much death and destruction, mining operations still continue, as Berezniki is responsible for 10% of the world's potash. Complete and utter closure would be seen as a crushing impact on the local economy and a loss of thousands of jobs. Today, Russian engineers use modern technology, including seismic sensors and satellite monitoring systems, to predict sinkhole formations before they happen. They've also assured the remaining population that the sinkhole formations are over, since it's said that much of the mines underneath are either flooded or properly supported. See you all next time!